The last forum we had, it went pretty well. It was going back and forth. We had some people who were pro the sweeps, which is really interesting, the back and forth with them. So hopefully some more of those people will still be showing up today. But the bottom line, and we'll probably reiterate the bottom line again, we want to talk here today about alternatives and other things that we discussed the first meeting. But the bottom line is we do not want outside police forces coming into Gary, harassing and locking up our people. We don't want it, we don't need it. It's disrespectful. It's tantamount to coon hunting, slave catching. And it's wrong. What's up, everyone?
Okay.
It's wrong. That's the bottom line. Somebody asked this morning, what's the end game for this? And the end game is, again, don't want those police forces coming in here arresting us. It's just wrong. We've already suffered too much in this community to have to make that happen. Do we want crime in this community? No. Do we want police from Griffin? Oh, that's Sherelle. Okay, good. You made it. Okay. Come on in the circle, brother. Hobart, wherever else, coming in here arresting our people. No, we do not. Last meeting, we didn't have too many examples, but we have some people here today who are going to give us some examples of how they treat us, how they mess up us without probable cause. They're saying they're not getting any complaints. And we understand that. Our people don't want to complain. A lot of times we're kind of apprehensive about complaining. So, but that's where we're at. We talked about some alternatives, and some of them were like work with the city or try to present not an amnesty project, or maybe like an amnesty day, like you have at a library. Some days you don't have to pay the fine. You turn your book in, you know. It may not be to that extreme because they want to get their money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even though we know we can't, a lot of times we can't afford it. I mean, they're trying to get your money off the backs of the people all the time, and that's not right, especially when we're suffering like we suffer in this community. And even at that, and we'll get more structured, even at that, you know, some of the examples that we have is people having to pay buku money to Crown Point to get a piece of paper to say this is my vehicle, and then having to go to Lake Station or Maryville to give them money to get your tow out. How is that putting money in Gary? Even though, again, we don't want to even put more money in Gary off the backs of the people who are already suffering. If they had the money to pay it, in most cases they would have paid it. Yeah, we have to deal with issues of, you just bought a pair of $300 Beats by Dr. J headphones and haven't paid your registration. We know that exists, but I don't think that exists in a large scale, but it does happen sometimes. So, I mean, that's where we're at. We want to end the sweeps. I'm sure more people will be coming, but this is an open forum with ideas and just some initial thoughts from anyone else. But as we get moving with this, we'll bring it back to where we need to be. But anybody, we want to even go around the circle right now for those of us who are here.
What's the plan with the camera? Just so the whole session is recorded, or just
typically that's what Brother AC does. Oh, go ahead.
What was the question?
He asked what was the
role, right?
Huh?
What's the plan?
With the camera.
What are you planning on doing with the
Oh, we put it on public media.
No, meaning, like, do we got to go up there to film, or you're going to be scanning around?
I'm going to be turning around when you start talking.
Yeah, so I just need to hide my company's logo. They real strict with that, so I didn't think about that when I came, you know. So I
got an extra t-shirt in the car. I'm going to use work out.
turn it inside out?
I got an extra t-shirt in the car.
Is it black? I don't really wear them. No, I just turn it inside out when we.
Yeah.
Okay, because you might be called on, you might speak next, whatever, because what we're going to do is just get some initial thoughts. So no, you should be doing what the community wants. And even going back to the radio, some of the things, matter of fact, they cut me off and started playing the song about choices. And what choices you make, some guy in Gary made the song, but their mic was still up. So you heard him in the background talking about, oh yeah, the sheriff has not been invited. And we did not invite the sheriff. We invited, this is an open forum. He could come if he wanted to, but I didn't give him no distinct invitation because I said the power belongs really to our city and to the people if the people organize, the people can demand that this doesn't happen, which is one of the reasons we need to empower the people. So that's why we're here with the people.
And this is not just the only place. I'm reading all over the place that this is going on all over the country. Exactly what's going on here, too.
In communities of color,
Yeah.
or African communities?
Well, I think,
Okay.
I think just the nation itself is, the reason we lock more people up is because of the mentality of law enforcement and the politicians. But in this case in particular, why does it have to be Gary? You know, so the question is, why Gary Police not going to Hobart and doing a sweep
Right,
over there? Why
right.
did you choose to sweep, the city where we had people already hurting so badly? So you're right, it is happening elsewhere, but why Gary? Why did you choose Gary?
Well, maybe it was because of the elections, wasn't that, to bring some attention to what the sheriff is doing, right?
I'm sure that played a big
Crime,
part.
how you
Tough on crime.
Yeah, tough on crime.
That's not tough on crime. And that's an issue I have, I'm sorry, is this, they're taking people with or without probable cause, and that's my issue, is like, the problem is, and I tried to ask an attorney, that was my homework to do, to find out whether, because of Homeland Security laws and stuff, of civil rights involving traffic stops, still need probable cause or not. And I didn't get the answer to that. I did ask her, and she didn't think that there was any changes in that respect, but she thought there might be. So, but she didn't get back to me about where.
I was just about to text,
All right, here we
speaking
go.
of attorneys. I'm about to text attorney.
Woo! All right. Attorney Bullock.
All right.
All right.
How's everyone?
All right.
So, but they're not really stopping crime. They're
Tell them to get further over.
Me?
They're just making us aware of it,
right. Well, when you stop people who are normally, one of the first things that happen when people don't have money is they don't have insurance on their car. Let me tell you, because that's been me. Okay. Okay. When you don't have a boatload of money, that's the first thing you don't spend money on. But you're going to go to work, to get it, but you don't have enough to pay that humongous insurance bill in Gary, too, by the way, because you're in Gary, redlining,
Good point.
insurance redlining. So that's to me, those are places to point. So, all right.
But the police have found it more effective to do these traffic stops. They're saying that is a good way of finding people who have warrants, who have they say traffic violations are good ways to catch people who do wrong, because they violate a lot of traffic laws. They don't pay insurance, they don't have licenses, they make the wrong,
Probably just turns and.
Right, they don't follow the traffic rules.
But you know why you can get, if I can say this, because I got pulled over one time and I did go to county jail because I didn't pay a bill that I already paid for medical. So I didn't go to, for medical, so, so if you don't pay a medical bill and you're supposed to go to court and you don't go to court, then that's a judgment against you, and the judgment turns into a warrant. So then you can go to prison for not paying a medical bill. So that's supposed to,
That is prison. Yeah, let's go with our brother Jonathan and brother Sherelle.
I think ultimately it's about what I see is creating an atmosphere of fear. I think historically, even if we go back to the 60s and the 70s and things like that, when we first started seeing this crackdown, this big call for law and order, with Nixon and then Reagan, you see that the calls for law and order are in communities that are most oppressed, and communities that are most oppressed are usually the communities that have the most potential for activism, because they obviously are the most oppressed. So I think that it's about instilling fear so that you don't have that, you don't have that, you don't have people protesting or things like that, So yeah, I don't know. I think as far as traffic violations and things like that go, I don't think that I don't know. It just doesn't. To me, it doesn't quite make sense, because this whole when you ask for to crack down on crime, they use it as a prefix to say they're gonna crack down on violent crime, but traffic violations are violent crimes, you know. And a lot of times, in Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow, she was talking about, she said the kiss and frog theory. She said this, where it's so many people that they have to pull over who don't have traffic violations, just get the fives throughout the course of the day who do, you know. And that goes back to creating this atmosphere of fear. So yeah.
Wow. And you know, and as we do that, one of the things we talk about was that you take 30–40% of the people in Gary, because of our economic conditions, because of the plight in this community, they're gonna have a warrant or a suspended license or tags. That's just the reality
Or
of it.
people move more often, and if they don't always deliver anymore, by the way. They don't deliver, the sheriff doesn't deliver to the hands of the people.
Yeah.
They don't deliver like that anymore. They leave things, they leave a piece of paper on what they think is the address, you know?
Yeah, but when you get these people who don't live in the community, they're gonna go to the letter of the law instead of the, you know,
Reality on the ground.
the reality on the ground. And so let's, you know, go ahead, Sherelle.
Getting back to the sweep, so we got to think, what is the sweep about? You know, because most crimes in Gary ain't about traffic. You know, and where's the intelligence of the police department? They know who's doing the robberies, the killings. Where's their intelligence people come in, detectives go do the sweeps, go get them people. When them sweeps on them, the criminals, they not on the streets, they back in the house. So if they just do a real sweep, go get the people that's got warrants, who wanted for all these felonies, instead of messing with the misdemeanor of working people, probably couldn't pay a ticket. Now you go and get your car towed by Lake County, $75. You get towed on Saturday, that's $75 for the tow release Monday morning. They start off with $180. Sunday, you got another 40. If you don't make it up by Monday at 12 o'clock, that's another 40. So you coming out $350, and plus we got NIPSCO in Gary, so it's just you putting a big thing, and we just gotta find out what is their objection for coming into the city. Yeah, I got pulled over right leaving Sharks. I came out of Sharks. I didn't make it now one block off there. The lady pulled me over. I got insurance on my car, plates, everything is right. She wanted to ask me who car this is. She pulled me over. So my license was infraction, not prior, so they towed the car. So I went and got a lawyer.
So what was the reason why they pulled you over in the first place?
She wanted to know who car it was. I didn't do no traffic. I didn't do no traffic offense.
You got a ticket?
The ticket was just driving while suspended. The ticket wasn't for what she pulled me over for. What was your reason for stopping my vehicle?
Right. Has probable, can I ask you something? Do you know if probable cause has changed since Homeland Security? Has anything like that has changed?
Well, the police have a lot of latitude to pull you over to begin with. I've seen cases where the courts in Indiana have said that they can pull you over if your turn signal is on too long. That's been upheld by the courts in the state. So they can find almost any kind of pretext to pull that car over, which is going back to what Jackie was saying earlier. So once they pull you over, then they have a reason to ask you, can they search your vehicle, run your plates, so on and so forth. It all begins with the stop. But almost any reason can justify, or they can articulate almost any reason to pull you over. Now, whether that reason will stand up in court is a different question. They can pull you over for almost anything.
And the police said last summer that they were going to do a kind of a stop and frisk, whether you're walking, driving, you know, thing that they have.
It's illegal to do a stop and frisk.
Well, no, I mean, that's, I came here prepared to impress everybody with my wisdom, but you guys have hit all the points that I was going to make already, and everybody's right, really, in terms of what you've already said. And I was thinking about that very issue. One of the things I've been thinking about more deeply is that this is a very conservative state. Indiana was one of the first states to pass voter ID laws. It's one of those states that's trying to prevent reproductive rights. It's one of those states that, whether you agree with it or not, gay marriage bans, just you can go down a whole list of
Don't explain that.
progressive issues that Indiana is conservative about, in the forefront of conservatism. And I've always been concerned about things like stop and frisk coming to this state because of that conservative nature in Indianapolis. And it could very well happen here. It was deemed to be illegal as it was applied in New York City.
Okay.
That's not a national ban against stop and frisk. And if you read even that court's ruling, what that court determined was that, again, it was the way the policy was carried out in New York, not that the practice itself was unconstitutional.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
So that could very well happen here, and I wouldn't be surprised if it did. And so we have to look at, going back to what either Johnson, I think you said, what's the policy behind these sweeps?
Right.
What are they trying to achieve by sending in outside forces to police this community? What's really the goal here? You have to know, I would believe that the request to send in county cops had to come from the mayor's office.
Not to cut you off.
And if it didn't come from the mayor's office, then at a minimum, it has to be okayed by the mayor's office. So from my perspective, not only do you have a very conservative administration in Indianapolis in terms of the governor's office, from my perspective, you also have a very conservative administration here in Gary as well, that if you look over their history, they've never been involved in community building ever
Right.
in their time in this city. They've done a whole lot of other things, sitting on boards and stuff like that, but they've never been community-minded.
Who are you talking about?
The mayor.
You don't consider, well, whatever.
I can't think of anything. Maybe if I'm mistaken, I'll stand corrected, but I can't think of anything that she's been involved in that was community-oriented or grassroots organizing or grassroots community activism.
Mhm.
You tell them, Jackie,
This
what
in
is it?
itself, I think, is a prime example of that. If she had the foundation of community, you wouldn't bring people from outside of your community to harass your people.
You will hear from directly.
I have, when the first week started in March, that they have the gang task force from Lake County who lives in Highland, all excited and geeked up that, we're going to go and pull up all these people in Gary. How can you love your community
Right.
if you have that type of mentality coming and pulling your citizens over?
She was going to ask the state police to come in here, but they refused.
And
Right,
order
they
the
told her
audit
that-
these
they told her how to run her city.
So
You
you
should
now
try this
see
with
that,
this.
that the people who are closer by were more amenable, those county.
But why is it
the
needed
highway.
at all?
But I think she alluded to it when you talked about the election. I think that definitely played a part because no one wants to be seen as being soft on crime. So enforcement has been the country's mojo, is just lock them up.
And I think it was just a,
Political.
political, and then to capitalize on the fear of crime, and so.
Well, why they got to
These
put it on
political
TV?
moves have consequences.
Yeah.
And the consequences of that, let's just say it was politically motivated in the sense that she wanted to show she was tough on crime. It still has consequences. And the consequences are what we're talking about here today.
Oh, okay.
The people being pulled over for
Mhm.
frivolous reasons, people being taken to jail, so on and so forth.
I was called in the radio station.
I'm sorry, John.
I'm sorry. Look, I called in the radio station. I got a chance to talk to Liggins, me and Paul that day. And I asked him with Lake County, why is there so many Lake counties? And the whole thing of Lake County is real big with all these cities. Why is so many Lake County cops is in the city of Gary, Indiana? And he told me that Lake County has been a county as you can hear the support or back up. Why is y'all patrolling the whole city of Gary, Indiana? Where is it? Lake County cops in St. John's, Highland, they all is in the city of Gary doing I call it tagging bad, because you'll jump off this car right here, and that car ain't did nothing. You drive up and down Broadway with no emotions, just going 60 miles. Everybody see it. They just, get off this car and jump on that car. What did that car do? I just think nitpicking and plus to squeeze our city dry of money to something we really don't have.
Yeah, and I also think, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's a lot of evidence that shows that a greater police presence actually stops crime
Well,
or reduces crime or anything like that. I think, there's this idea that, if there's more police, that, crime will go down. When there's more police, there are more arrests, obviously, but crime hasn't necessarily gone down from that. And also, another point I wanted to make is that in the Post-Tribune, maybe it was 2 years ago, I can't remember, but it's like, it was an article and it was saying how the highest, they were like doing something on schools, and like the school that had the highest rate of heroin abuse and use was Lake Station, or Lake Central, I'm sorry, Lake Central. However, Gary schools are the schools that have, that, kids get patted down, heavy police force presence is in the school, whereas the schools in Portage and all these other, they have the higher drug use, so that gets back to, I guess why, why.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ms. Bullock.
No, I was going to say the antidote to crime is economic development, because people commit more crimes and get involved in underground economies when there is no real economy, no jobs in the places where they live. Those kind of options become more viable, right? So if the mayor or the governor or whoever it is was concerned about combating crime, they would find ways and promote ways to bring in economic development to the community. And then I guess you guys have already stated.
Real economic,
Sure.
not to more outsiders coming in, but start to re-enfranchise your own community.
Not more liquor stores.
That's not even job creation. We're talking about real job creation.
Right, real stuff.
And it does further the criminalization of black populations, in particular black men, when your response to whatever is happening in black communities is to send in the police. I mean, just on its face, anybody with any kind of political analysis knows this is a problem, and it has to be opposed. I mean, this is good. It's a good start, but I'm not sure if you guys have discussed next steps, because ultimately that's where it has to go, is how do we approach whoever made this decision, or just approach the mayor and say, hey, we don't like this, we don't want this, this is fraught with problems, we need you to make this stop.
And if I could add one more piece, I guess it's also ironic, and I don't know how well folks have been following this, but in Hobart, the GEO, which is a private prison company, which means they make money off locking people up. They ain't locking folks up, they don't make money, they don't stay in business. They purchased land in Hobart, so I think that's very ironic that during this whole crackdown, get tough on crime in Gary, there's a private prison company.
Well, we're hearing two things. Is it stop? I mean, is that done? Is it not going to happen? Or
well, I think it's not going to happen there. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
It's an
in Northwest
immigrant
Indiana.
detention center for one, but also too, I heard somebody was like, well, their big plan is actually on Gary. They're just trying this one out.
Since they closed the option there, now they're looking for alternatives.
Right. So, yeah.
I requested documents from the county commissioner on the plans for that, what they know about it, and purchasing the property and so on and so forth. They've not responded at this point, but I'm trying to get everything I can figure out. I can get that is from them to see where they're going with that.
And immigration detention centers still a prison.
Yes.
And they are contract, and they have to have a certain amount of rooms filled, and they're building their base here.
Well, they don't have to have them filled. They're going to get paid anyway if they're not filled.
But I think just from the big picture, and I kind of alluded to it, the truth is we lack the people to have the political courage to challenge the direction of the country. I can't get off of that because honestly, CCA, which is the private management company of the private prisons, have made their living and their business and going around the country advocating, having people in DC advocating lawmakers to make sure that we criminalize things that weren't historically criminalized. And the whole purpose of it is to make money. And so, of course, when you got a disenfranchised group of people, they're the easiest target. And so you come to Gary, you go to inner city, Chicago, any of those places, Miami, you had the people who are most disenfranchised, most cut off, and those ones you can take advantage of the most. So when we talk about solution, I always tell people, it's an acronym for crime, ICO, intent, capability, opportunity. You have to have all three in order for crime to occur. So intent is hard to stop. I can't get in your head to stop the intent. Capacity I can limit, but opportunity, and that's what you alluded to, Ms. Bullock, is opportunity. So if you set all these constraints up, my friend got a joke, he said they lay so many potholes, you're gonna hit one. And so it's just a matter of time. You dodge this one, you hit that one, but it's the opportunity. And so by doing that, they already know what they're gonna do. CCA, they look at the third grade scores in order to kind of predict and determine when it's time to start looking at where to rebuild prisons. So the key is now, when you look at the lawmakers, and most of them are state reps, all around the country, it's the state reps that enact the laws so that they can make sure that rural America benefits from the prisons. And that's what's happening. It's 5,200 counties. So that's who's going. We have to make sure that the lawmakers are held accountable. And Chicago, even though it's a Republican state here, Rahm Emanuel and the whole Democratic Party control the state, the House, the Chamber, and it's still treating them the same way as a city like this, where it's about control, domination, and exploitation.
Right. But Democratic doesn't mean progressive.
Exactly.
And
you don't
Robin Emanuel, people like that, they're progressive. They might be Democrat.
Thank you.
And again, same thing here as well.
Same thing.
Well, Brother Beers joined us, and we talked a lot about, how some of us who are affected by these sweeps, just on the grassroots, on the level right there with this police harassment and constantly stopping us, like with cheap watch or something. It's just crazy, man. So just, bro, if you can just chime in on just some of the things that happened to you or that happens to us out here.
I know it's been some good, commentary going on here, some good comments made. I just came in a little late, so I had some family decided they wanted to stop by. So, I don't just like to just kick people out, but sometimes it's needed. But yeah, I know, some good discussions been going on here. Sorry I'm late, like I say, but, like Kwabena, like I always tell Kwabena, me and Kwabena are good friends, and, we always have conversations. I think we get so frustrated. We don't be frustrated at each other, but we just be frustrated at the circumstances of what's going on in our city, because it's like, I tell Kwabena all the time, opportunity eliminates crime. Because if somebody, I tell people all the time, no matter how many police officers you put on the street, if somebody wants to kill you, they're going to find a way to kill you. So and the only way you can stop that is if you have a police officer in every house at all times, 24/7. Because you can have 500 police officers patrolling the city of Gary. Statistics show that, most murder victims is murdered by somebody that they know. So, we all have mutual friends. Just an example, somebody in here get into it, what's the key? Not just saying that somebody will, but I'm just saying no police is here right now. If somebody wants to do something, where the police at to stop somebody from doing something now? If somebody really wanted to do something to somebody, they can do it right here. So this is the prime example of what I say, that no matter how many police officers patrol the streets, if somebody really wants to do something, they're going to find a chance and an opportunity at some point in time to do it. So
I think if you're doing a sweep, where's the program to help the people?
Right.
Okay, if you're doing a sweep on license, registration, most people, if you ain't paid over, if you had 3 prior, it's gonna be about $1,300. Where's the judges to say, okay, let's start a program to help the blacks or the minorities or the low income people to get licensed? Let's waive everything. Let's just make it $500 off the board. Now you got a young black brother who got his license back. Now he can travel to Wheatonfield, anywhere, get a good job. When there ain't no job, it's gonna be crimes and I just think we should have programs for people. If you're gonna do a sweep, bring up something else the back end of it. We're gonna have a program when we get finished doing it. And refer people to this program. Now you can get your license back for $500. We'll knock all the tickets off and probably have this much points. So
That
we
would
need
assume
to.
good intentions on
Yeah, that's all I
Right.
can say. If they wanted to do that, but it's working for them, so why
Right.
say it was working?
Right.
So I think it's one of the
No,
things that
because
maybe we should look at, we should look into when we demand, when we get to the mayor and the powers of being demand that you end these sweeps. You know, no, here's an alternative that we have. Brother John.
It's an alternative for it, yeah.
But I think one thing we have to do, we got to call this what it is, and that's a racist attack, essentially. You know, and it's a racist attack, and it's being led by, or what you've seen being led by, even okayed by the mayor. You know, which obviously just because she's black doesn't mean it's not a racist attack. So I think we have to do that, but and we have to come up with, I guess, a plan of action. What do we what are we going to leave here with?